On September 30th, 2022, the world watched as Burkina Faso was shaken by a coup d'etat. This wasn't the first time the West African nation had experienced such turmoil. In a span of just 9 months, Burkina Faso witnessed its second coup, a clear indication of the deep-seated instability that plagued the country. This time it was Captain Ibrahim Traoré, a relatively unknown military figure who seized control, ousting Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Damiba. Damiba himself had come to power through a coup in January 2022, toppling the democratically elected government of President Rochmark Christian Kabore. His rise was fueled by promises of restoring security and combating the Islamist insurgency that had been ravaging the country for years. However, Damiba's regime proved ineffective in curbing the violence, which only escalated under his watch. Traoré, in his address to the nation, justified his actions by pointing to Damiba's failure to address the deteriorating security situation. He accused Damiba of incompetence and of prioritizing his own interests over those of the nation. Traoré's words resonated with many in Burkina Faso, particularly within the armed forces, who had grown increasingly disillusioned with the government's inability to protect its citizens and its own soldiers from the escalating violence. The coup led by Traoré was swift and bloodless, but its implications were far-reaching. It not only plunged Burkina Faso deeper into uncertainty, but also sent shockwaves across the region, raising concerns about the fragility of governance and the growing threat of military intervention in West Africa. Born in 1988, Ibrahim Traoré's path to becoming the interim president of Burkina Faso was unconventional. Unlike many African leaders who hailed from political dynasties or elite backgrounds, Traoré came from humble beginnings. He pursued higher education, studying geology at Joseph Kizerbo University in Ouagadougou, before opting for a career in the military. In 2009, Traoré enrolled in the Georges Namoano Military Academy, graduating in 2012. He quickly rose through the ranks, proving himself to be a capable and courageous soldier. His military career saw him deployed not only within Burkina Faso's borders but also on peacekeeping missions abroad. Traoré served under the United Nations Multi-Dimensional Integrated Stabilization Mission in Mali, gaining valuable experience in combating armed groups in the Sahel region. Back in Burkina Faso, Traoré was actively involved in counter-terrorism operations against jihadist groups that had gained a foothold in the country's north. His experiences on the front lines exposed him to the brutal realities of the conflict and the heavy toll it was taking on both civilians and the military. Traoré witnessed firsthand the shortcomings of the army's strategy and the lack of resources available to soldiers battling the insurgency. As the security situation in Burkina Faso continued to deteriorate, a wave of discontent began to spread within the military. Young officers like Traoré, who had witnessed the horrors of the conflict and the government's perceived inaction, felt increasingly frustrated and disillusioned. This growing discontent within the army, coupled with the wider public's anger at the government's failure to protect its citizens, created a fertile ground for Traoré's rise to power. Section 4. The Legacy of Sankara, Comparisons and Aspirations.